Hi everyone, my name is Raghu, and 3 weeks ago, exactly on November 5th, I embarked on a 3 week journey to build a product that will help aspiring product managers learn product management in a fun, interactive, and engaging way. And now, on 26th, I completed that 3 week product build challenge, and this is the overall journey of how I managed to create the product in just the 3 weeks. So starting off, I before starting off the journey on November 5th, one day before that on November 4th, I made a detailed plan on what I'm planning to do. So the overall plan that I had in mind was on our first week of the 3 week product build challenge. I planned to create the MVP. The second week I planned to create the uh, beta version, and the third week I plan to create the final product. So that was the overall idea that I had in mind, and that's how I started off. And as a first step, I created the product vision. And the vision statement went something like this: for aspiring product managers and professionals who want to shift to product management, to learn product management. Prod Mentor is a Duolingo style app that helps them learn product management in a fun, interactive, and engaging way. So that is the overall product vision statement that I had. And once I've had the product vision in place, I started creating the user personas. So when I started understanding who are all my key user personas, I split them into two different categories. One is the primary user persona, and second is the other is the secondary user persona. In primary user persona, I had two different personas in place. One was the students and graduates who had no experience, and second are professionals, experienced professionals who had experience in a different industry or in a different role who want to switch into product management. That was my primary user persona. The secondary user persona incorporated three different personas. One are the current product managers who want to keep their product sense in place. And second is the PM professionals who teach product management through courses. And the third are the recruiters and hiring managers who want to filter out the top candidates who has the best product skills. So once I framed this user persona, I started doing user interviews. I spent I spent 2 entire days just on taking the user interviews. I managed to take almost 25 user interviews, in which I had people from all different user personas in place, except the recruiters and hiring managers in there. And so they had 10 key requirements or patterns that I saw repeating across all these users whom I took interviews. So I spent almost 45 minutes per user to take the interview, and 2 days into I spent almost more than 12 hours a day trying to just take these interviews. And these patterns that I found was, like I said, it was repetitive among different user personas. So those 10, let me brief those 10. So one is to have a structured learning path, because many of them felt that due to the presence of exhaustive amount of resources in place, they were struggling to learn, they were struggling to know how to approach to learn product management. And second was to know what is the exact expectations and responsibilities as a product manager. And third was to know how to make proper data driven decisions. And fourth was to make insight driven user research. And fifth was to get immediate feedback based on whether they're doing it right or wrong. And sixth was to gain technical knowledge. And next was to learn frameworks in a more practical way, in a more gamified way. And next is to learn soft skills, develop their soft skills in place, because that is one thing which they felt that product management courses couldn't straight away help them learn, right? So they wanted a different alternate method in which they should be able to learn the soft skills as well, which is required to excel as a product manager. And the next is to know the difference between a product skill and a product manager skill and an interview skill, right? Because most often than not, people can. This is what I got from the current product managers is what most of the people confuse between a product management skill and an interview skill, but in reality, both are most often than not is very different. And last is to have real world industry specific examples across different industries to help them resonate better with the examples, to let them learn and understand things better. So these are the 10 key kind of highlights that I got out of the user interviews that I had conducted. And once I completed these interviews, I noted down all of these key learnings that I had from these interviews. What I then did was to do a little bit of market research, and based on a few insights that I had obtained during the user research about a few key apps. One was the exam that a small assessment test that was conducted by Appraise, and second was an app called UXL, which was a product which helped designers learn designing skills, which was really interesting. And third was a simulation game, which was for game developers. I think it's called Game Dev Tycoon. And the other one was this thing called Duolingo, which helped people who wanted to learn a new language to help them. It helped them learn a new language. So I understood how these different platforms work, and I also saw a game which was conducted by MIT to help people learn project management. So understanding all these existing platforms helped me frame my vision better. And once I did all that, I understood I noted down what are all the key constraints that I had, right? So I had three key constraints. One was that I'm not, even though I know coding, I'm not I'm not a complete coder, right? I had a bit of knowledge in embedded C coding. I had done coding, but I'm not a software developer and I can't do software coding. And second was the cost. I wanted to do something where I would not incur even a single rupee. And that was one of the key constraints that I started out with. And a third was the time. So this 21 days is the time that I had available, out of which almost 1 week I had already spent on the user research part. So only 14 days also was available for me. So I needed a platform where I could, prototype very rapidly and come up with new concepts very frequently. So these were all the key constraints that I had. And I was fortunate enough to even have a community of people. I managed to create a community of people who are interested to try out the app that comes out of this entire project that I took upon myself. Which had a 50 plus people inside the community from various. I had people from different geographies, even from the US, Canada, and stuff. And once I had all the community is one thing that I wanted to leverage to help test my product that I had. And once this was all done, I started working on things. And just to give a brief about how it went, the plan was more like the first week I'll build MVP, second week for beta, third week for the final product. But what actually ended up happening was the first week I entirely spent only on doing the research, including setting the product vision, the creating the user personas, and doing the user interviews, the market research. So user and market research on a whole was what the first entire week went on with. And the second week is when I started doing the MVP. I managed to make 2 different MVPs, and both of those MVPs failed. So the first MVP was focused on having a set of questions. I initially planned on using Google Forms, where even there I can conduct quizzes. So I explored multiple different platforms. I thought of buying some sort of a website and doing multiple different things. And at the end, nothing worked out. And I had to shift my strategy completely. So I had to scrap that idea entirely, whatever I had, and started thinking of something different. And that's where the second MVP came into picture. So The second MVP had a concept something like this. So I had a list of, it was a combination of a Kahoot and a presentation that I had, a Canva presentation that I had, wherein I initially give the players a set of a case study, a small, not a case study, a scenario. Let's just say that it's a scenario, and based on that scenario, I give them a list of, I ask them a list of questions which they have to answer through Kahoot, and after answering a set of questions, so I wanted to cover right from the discovery phase to deliver phase, the discovery, define, develop and deliver. So I had like, I think around 5 to 10 questions in each topic, and each question lasted for around 20 seconds or so. After they finish one section, which is, let's say, discover for an example, I wanted to show them an entire brief on what they answered right, why it is right, why it is wrong, and what is something they should have in mind while answering such questions. So I did that for all 4 phases, and even that MVP failed because I couldn't keep the users engaged till the end of that entire process, and the learning span or the attention span was too low. Even though I conducted the MVP with around, I initially planned to conduct with at least a minimum of 10 people, 10 to 15 people in one set, and I ended up bringing in almost 5 to 6 people, and even then I failed to completely test the MVP in a proper sense or test the hypothesis. So the main reason I dropped off the first MVP that I built was because of the fact that I couldn't validate the hypothesis. So I initially had a list of 5 to 10 hypotheses that I wanted to test, and when I looked back at the first MVP, I couldn't based on whatever questions I had, let's say, I couldn't validate those hypotheses and to classify whether I was the hypothesis was right or whether should I drop off that hypothesis. So because of all those reasons, the first MVP also didn't work out, the second MVP also didn't work out. But based on the learnings that I had from all of these MVPs that I built, I then created 3 different apps in the next week. The third week, I created all 3 apps in 1 week, and so I adopted what I'd like to call the extreme agile process, where typically the agile process takes around 2 weeks for each sprint, and I did 2-day sprints. I released an app once in 2 days, and I just didn't want to release an app per se. That was not the motive, but I had set product roadmap that what I want in the first version, second version, and the third version of the app. And so let me take you through the entire app process, how the app look, and what I plan to test in each of these apps. So initially I had this opening. So this is the app that I had at the end of the third week. So the app, so there were specific, initially I had those 10 list of things that I wanted to test in the app. So among that, the first one was structured learning. So here I wanted to have a proper learning path wherein I gave a separate set of things which come under each of these sections, including, let's say, discover. Under discover, I had 10 different topics. Similarly, under define, I had 10 different topics, and same with develop and deliver. So I had different topics under each of these categories, and that helped out with the structured learning. And then under each of these specific concepts, I had what I would call the expectations and responsibilities which I wanted to cover. So first off, I gave a brief about what are the key learning objectives, what are they supposed to learn while completing the learning of that particular concept. I had 10 different key learning objectives for each of those processes, and I also had something called, I also had a detailed page wherein I had what is the outcome, what are they supposed to know in a nutshell, and what is the approach they can follow to make sure that they learn it, and what are the frameworks they can follow to learn these concepts, what are the tools they can adopt to learn these things, and what are the general do's and don'ts that they can follow to make sure that they learn the best practices. So these are all the things that was present inside each of these concepts. And I also had a quiz which showed whether if someone has completed that quiz, which showed it as completed, or if not, it allowed them to show the take on that quiz. And what happened that once you start the quiz is I had a question followed by 4 options, and based on the option that they selected, I showed them whether it is right or wrong, and what is the reason or the explanation behind whether it is right or wrong. And similarly, I had it for all the different questions that I had, and which showed whether an answer is right or wrong, and gave a proper detailed explanation on why an answer is right or wrong. So there were 10 questions in each of these sections, and once I completed all the questions, it showed me what is the total score that I had and what time that I scored. And once I continue to my screen, I would be able to see that I have completed taking that course. So this included a few things like data-driven decision making and insight-driven user research. And while taking the app, I planned to give an immediate feedback to tell them whether what they had selected is right or wrong, so that they can immediately understand and accordingly shift their thought process. And so these are 5 key hypotheses that I wanted to, or not hypotheses, 5 key learnings that I wanted to incorporate, that I understood based on the user research that I had conducted. Apart from this, I had 5 other key learning outcomes that I wanted to provide. One was to learn technical knowledge and learn frameworks in a gamified manner, soft skill, and learn different soft skills, learn the difference between a PM and an interview skill, and have real world industry specific examples through which I wanted them to learn. And I couldn't per se do all of that in the short time that I had. And instead, what I tried doing is create a chatbot through ChatGPT, wherein I trained that entire model on what all I wanted it to do, what are the kind of questions. So I had 4 questions outlined. One was, to create a PRD for an example, which will help them assist how to create one. Similarly, to help them learn interview skills, like for an example, interview me for a product manager role at Amazon, for an example. And addressing the real world industry specific example, I created this real fintech product based case study. And in the last, I also had if you ask a query on how to build an app from start to end, it will again help you understand the concepts or the process that goes behind from the start to the end of building a product or building a startup from scratch. So with this, even if they had a deep technical question about a particular concept, they would be able to ask this ChatGPT, which is specifically trained on product management. While ChatGPT by itself has a detailed data on answering these questions, I trained this model in a different specific way, in a much more interactive and a fun and engaging way, and including a lot of different aspects trained on a few different models based on data sets that I had through which I had trained this model. So based on these 2 things, one was the quiz part and the other was the chatbot that I had created, I was able to address all of those 10 different issues or 10 different learning outcomes that I wanted the users to get based on the feedback that I had received during the user interviews. So once that is done, I addressed those. Once I addressed all these pain points, I went back to the community and I asked them to provide their feedback. and I hope you guys also liked it. I would attach the link to this app that I had created through Glide Apps. Anyone would be able to go and check it out. And yeah, I think that is how I made it happen in 3 weeks. That was the overall journey that I had. Would love to hear your thoughts. Go down in the comments. Thank you so much.